This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
One hundred and 76 people killed as a Ukrainian airliner crashes in Iran. In the Soleimani saga, Iran hits back with missile strikes at US bases in Iraq. And EU foreign ministers meet in Egypt over the escalating Libya crisis. Hello and a warm welcome to Africa Live on CGTN. I'm Lindy Mtongana in Nairobi. Also coming up this hour. International airlines reroute their planes following Iran's attack on US bases in Iraq. And in sport, Senegal winger Sadio Mane crowned 2019 CAF Player of the Year. Now let's start in Iran, where a Ukrainian passenger plane has crashed shortly after taking off from Tehran's main international airport, killing all 176 people on board. The Boeing 737-800 aircraft bound for the Ukrainian capital Kiev crashed near Parand, a suburb southwest of the Iranian capital. Iran's semi-official news agency, the ISNA, has cited technical issues as the cause of the crash. The Ukrainian embassy in Tehran says that it has ruled out terrorism and that preliminary information pointed to engine malfunction. Ukraine's foreign minister said the victims included 82 Iranians, 63 Canadians and 11 Ukrainians. Rescue teams were at the crash site, but Iran's Red Crescent Society has said there was no chance of finding survivors. Iran's Civil Aviation Authority has launched an investigation into the accident. Well, CGTN's Dan Ashby has been following this story for us from Moscow. He joins us now live. Dan, Ukrainian authorities say the tragedy could be due to technical problems. Has there been any more reaction from the airline on this?
Yes, the airline has emphasised what it has done, saying that it did a scheduled maintenance check just a few days ago, also emphasising that the plane was relatively new, delivered in 2016, and a pretty bullish statement saying that they thought the chances of a pilot mistake were minimal. That being said, as you say, the focus seems to be on some sort of technical error, perhaps engine failure, because the crash happened just 10 kilometres away from Tehran's main airport. It happened within a number of minutes, and there are reports of a fire on board. Ukrainian authorities are quick to emphasise at the moment that they are ruling out terror, but also no real details as to what could have caused this crash. They have now found the black boxes, but rescue teams are still going through the site.
And of course, all 176 people on board were killed in this accident. Has there been any announcement as to how the airline or authorities might assist the relatives of those who perished in this accident?
Lindy, such early stages at the moment. I think they're still trying to identify all the passengers on board and contact their families, because it is an international operation. The vast majority of the victims were either Iranian or Canadian, it seems, which was an unlikely outcome because the flight was going from Iran to Ukraine. There are 11 Ukrainians on board. They were mostly crew, but then you also have Afghans, Brits, Swedes also on board. So at the moment they're trying to contact the families. Rescue teams on the ground, though, have confirmed that there are no survivors.
And of course, the other major news coming out of Iran today is that bombing of US bases in Iraq. Just tell us how Moscow is reacting to these two major events coming out of Iran today.
Well, we've just had reaction from Pushkov, a senior politician here, and he has said he thought that initial US strike on Soleimani was the first step towards a significant and major war in the Middle East. So Russia sees this as all started from an American provocation. Moscow is trying to de-escalate the situation. Russia does not want to see a war in the Middle East. It is more focused on Syria at the moment and resolving the Syrian situation. But Moscow is very much standing by its ally Iran. They are working together in Syria. It has come out and said that this is all an American provocation that started with that strike on Soleimani, and that these strikes are an expected response from Iran that you could have predicted in advance. So Russia trying to show that it is the voice of multilateralism and peace against a kind of aggressive US, and I think it will continue to stand by Iran in the days ahead.
Dan Ashby, thank you so much, joining us there live from Moscow. Now, heading to Libya, international diplomatic efforts to find a solution to the Libyan conflict are being stepped up. Egypt will hold a ministerial coordination meeting on Wednesday. The meeting will include foreign ministers from France, Italy, Greece and Cyprus. Egypt's foreign minister is expected to push for a political solution to the conflict. Well, the European Union has joined in calls for Turkey to stop interfering in the Libyan conflict. This came after a meeting with foreign ministers from France, Britain, Germany and Italy. The EU also appealed to Libya to call for a ceasefire around Tripoli. An extraordinary session has been called for Friday to discuss the situations in both Libya and Iran. The EU's High Representative for Foreign Affairs said political negotiations are needed to end the crisis. He added there was no military solution.
We agreed that the overriding urgency is to stop the fighting in and around Tripoli and ask for an immediate cessation of hostilities. Any escalation and also any outside interference will only make the conflict more protracted, bring more misery to ordinary people in Libya, exacerbate divisions in the country, and increase the risk of its partition, spread instability across the region, and aggravate the threat of terrorism.
Well, the foreign ministers of Greece, Cyprus, France, Italy and Egypt are due to meet in Cairo on Wednesday over the Libyan conflict. CGTN's Brian Toussaint takes a look at the developments that have led up to this meeting.
Starting in December, when Greece ordered the expulsion of the Libyan ambassador over the Turkey-Libya Maritime Accord, Greece and Cyprus were angered by the deal as they want fair sharing of gas resources in the southern Mediterranean. Then fast forward to last Thursday, when Turkey's parliament announced the deployment of troops to Libya to support the internationally recognized government in Tripoli. Following that, the Arab League and a vocal Egypt strongly condemned the foreign interference by Ankara. On Friday, Russia and the African Union both spoke out, saying a military intervention was not the best option to resolve the crisis in Libya. U.S. President Donald Trump also advised caution to the Turkish president. That day, Libyan National Army Commander Khalifa Haftar declared jihad against any Turkish involvement in Libya. He also urged citizens to take up arms. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres then called for an immediate ceasefire in Libya. On Saturday, Libya's eastern-based parliament voted unanimously against deals on security and maritime cooperation. The Tobruk-based House of Representatives also referred Fayez al-Sarraj for prosecution on a charge of high treason. Still on Saturday, at least 30 people were killed in an airstrike at a military school in Tripoli. The UN-backed government blamed rebel forces loyal to General Haftar for the attack. By Monday, Ankara was facing growing diplomatic pressure over its Libya plans, this time from Germany. But Turkish President Erdogan confirmed that his troops had begun moving into Libya. Brian Toussaint, CGTN.
You're watching Africa Live. Coming up next. The WHO appeals for more funding as a measles outbreak kills 6,000 people in the DRC. And the implications of Nigeria's military withdrawal from internal security operations.
Each day, there are millions of stories. Each one can open new perspectives, new possibilities. Wherever you look, we are there. to see, discover, explore. We put the pieces together to find what really matters to you, all around the world, all around the clock. Our reporters are at home across the globe. From our headquarters in Beijing and production centers in Washington, Nairobi, and London, China Global Television Network. Stories from across the globe, reaching people across the globe. CGTN. See the difference.
How will your world change today? What happens here? What happens there? Or what you make happen for yourself? If it matters to you, it matters to us too. Your stories are the stories that need to be told. Africa Live. Find your voice.
Nigeria is my home. 160 million vibrant, ambitious individuals constantly seeking the perfect self-expression. It is these people who inspired me to be that person that is seen, to be a voice that is heard, and ultimately to be the anchor that I am. I have to tap in, tune in, and turn on the very best qualities within me to deliver the news. I'm Richard Nta, an anchor for CGTN.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi has begun his tour of Africa with a visit to Egypt. Yasser Hakim looks at the talks Mr. Wang Yi held on his first day in Cairo.
Mr. Wang Yi's busy itinerary upon his arrival included a meeting with the Secretary General of the Arab League, Ahmed Abul Ghait. The Arab League has been dealing with a host of violent conflicts in the region, one of which are the developments in Libya.
China regularly leans towards calling for dialogue, negotiations and peaceful means to solve the different conflicts. This policy confines perfectly with policies of the Arab League in North Africa.
China is a permanent member of the UN Security Council, and the Arab League believes it's essential to receive the support of a superpower like China.
It always supports the Arab cause, especially as a permanent member of the Security Council. Unlike the US, it has always backed the Palestinians in the Israeli conflict, as opposed to the US policies. Her policies are popular in Egypt and Arab League.
China had launched the Chinese Arab Cooperation Forum in 2014. It's been an annual event to coordinate policies with Arab countries. The two officials agreed to strengthen cooperation and to work together towards reaching a peaceful solution to the crises in the region through dialogue and negotiations. Yes, Hakim for CGTN, Cairo.
Days after the Al-Shabaab attack in Lamu on the coast of Kenya, anxious residents in remote villages remain fearful. While some have opted to seek refuge elsewhere, those who've stayed are seeking sanctuary in the bush. CGTN's Wilkista Nyabwa has more.
Hours after the Al-Shabaab attacked a military base in Lamu County on Sunday, locals in a section of villages neighboring the base packed their bags and left their homes. The prospect of more attacks made them fearful of remaining in areas around Boni Forest. So they started the trek, seeking refuge in more densely populated areas, believing that there was safety in numbers. But today, a visit to Hindi village found residents at home, carrying out evening chores. By day, residents of Hindi in Lamu County go about their usual normal activities. But when darkness falls, they abandon their homes, retreating to the bushes for refuge. Mary and her sister-in-law live right next to each other. This evening, like every evening since the attack, They are preparing their evening meal fast so they can go to bed early. But they won't sleep in their beds. Instead, they will sleep in the thicket.
We don't sleep at night. We're afraid that, like in the 2014 and 2017 attacks, they may come to knock on our doors at night. So we sleep outside in the bushes. We feel safer there.
This secrecy, they believe, could save their lives in case of an attack. Days after the attack, tension still hangs over villages in Lamu County. Some residents have moved to town. Others have moved in with friends, while others still remain at home, hopeful that the situation will normalize. On Tuesday, the United States and the Kenya Defense Forces sent reinforcements to Lamu. The police service has also beefed up security in the county.
On the urban areas, we have beefed up patrols. You know, I have the officers from the National Police Service. We have even our brothers from the other end, and we have the National Police Reservist. In the villages there, we have the National Police Reservist, and we liaise together. Here we are working as a multi-agency team. That is to say, it's not police alone, but all the teams. That is the police, we have the SIPU, we have the R&U, we have even the KNDF and other forces. We are working together.
But residents like Mary and her family continue to hide.
Where can we go? This is the only home we know. We can't leave.
They won't feel safe until the guns fall silent. Wilkisanyabwa, CGTN, Lamu, Kenya.
Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari recently ordered the military to pull out of internal security operations. The country's police force will now take control, allowing the military to focus on fighting militant groups. CGTN's Kelechi Mekalam reports on the impact this policy may have on security.
A parade of suspected armed bandits and kidnappers, just two out of the many security challenges facing Nigeria. Military operations were launched across the country to address peculiar security threats, from communal clashes to armed banditry and kidnappings, among others. The perception that the Civil Security Department was not capable of independently tackling internal security challenges had spurred a military intervention in the past. Now the President Buhari-led administration wants the military pulled out of internal security operations. But is the police ready for a total takeover?
If we withdraw 100% the military, the police is not capable of taking up that responsibility. It must be done in stages and with concurrently with the reform that is required in the police, so that the police is strengthened both in terms of their operations and then their equipment capabilities, so that at the end of the day we have a capable police that is able to take the kind of responsibility that we're about to hand over to it.
The directive is coming amid of an overwhelmed army saddled with Boko Haram threats and the need for security departments to focus on their constitutional plan. A total overhaul of the police system is imperative.
There needs to be police reform to improve what the police is currently doing. That is not happening. The equipment at the position of the police, it needs to be improved. Then training of the police, in fact even the recruitment of the police. You and I are probably privy to information of how the recruitment process within the police system is. Then their welfare, as well as even issues around corruption.
Many are calling for the implementation of the National Security Strategy document, which ensures that security is concentrated more at the bottom rather than the top. A policy that would ensure the lives and property of the poor masses are better protected. Kelechi Mekalam, CGTN Abuja, Nigeria.
In the Democratic Republic of Congo, the death toll from the ongoing measles outbreak has surged past 6,000. 60 health professionals, especially trained by the World Health Organization, have been deployed this week in response to the long-running epidemic. They'll conduct a range of services, including community engagement, health education, and surveillance. In 2019, more than 18 million children under 5 were vaccinated. This age group is considered the most vulnerable and made up 25% of reported cases. But despite a number of mass vaccination campaigns last year, routine vaccination coverage remains low. The epidemic has been made worse by malnutrition and weak public health systems. There's also the current Ebola outbreak, along with insecurity hampering access to vulnerable communities. And on top of all this, funding remains a persistent challenge. The Health Ministry is now looking to extend measles vaccinations to cover children between the ages of 6 and 14, but this will require an additional $40 million to implement.
Today we are giving a measles vaccine because a lot of children here have been sick with the disease. Those who come in sick are treated for free. We get about 3 to 5 children who have contracted measles every day. We have the medicines to treat them.
I heard that measles is killing children, and that is why I brought my 6 children to be vaccinated.
No one in this community opposes the vaccine. None. This vaccination is very important to us.
Tanzania's Atomic Energy Commission has suspended radiation services at 72 hospitals located in 23 regions of the country. It says the centers were not compliant with safety regulations. CGTN's Daniel Kijo has more.
Okay, you can sit here.
Radiology services are important in saving lives, but nationwide inspection by the Tanzania Atomic Energy Commission has revealed dozens of hospitals and clinics were not compliant with the rules and regulations, and that's potentially very dangerous.
You can have a direct effect like skin burning, blindness, diarrhea, whatever, in very short time, even burning of the skin.
The commission says the suspended centers lacked qualified radiologists and had defective machines or didn't have relevant licenses. Extremely high doses of radiation damages human cells, and it's thought that even low doses over prolonged periods of time can also be carcinogenic. The Tanzania Atomic Energy Commission has inspected over 600 centers that use radiation-based equipment. 72 have not complied with regulations and have been closed. The closure has caused some challenges for patients and service health providers, but the authority in charge maintains that the process is necessary to protect workers, patients, members of the public and the environment against the harmful effects of radiation. Ahmed Jusabani has been a radiologist for over a decade. He says world-class radiology equipment is expensive, and to save cost, some businesses don't invest in qualified staff.
Probably there is some financial challenge as well. And it's mainly because people want quick results, quick money, and they don't plan for these services.
The commission says all radiation services at the center will remain suspended until the centers comply with the TAEC's regulations.
So if they comply within 1 week and we verify that everything is okay, we give them authorization to continue. If it takes them 2 years, 3 years, but it's up to them. The closure just requires them to stop until everything is okay.
Using radiological equipment does involve a level of risk. Authorities in Tanzania hope that by enforcing safety regulations, they can keep that risk to patients as low as possible. Daniel Kijo, CGTN, Dar es Salaam.
Time now for a short break. Your business news up next. Coming up, international airlines reroute their planes following Iran's attack on U.S. bases in Iraq. And a surge in the gold price as investors seek a safe haven on the back of tensions in the Middle East.
Africa is the nexus of enterprise, and global business will tell you why it matters.
From the mega investment projects to multi-billion-dollar mergers and acquisitions.
Africa today collects, just in terms of revenues from taxes alone, $545 billion a year. If you take 10% of that and you devote it to the energy sector, problem solved.
All this on Global Business, weekdays at this time on CGTN.
There's more to this place than just glorious landscapes. There's more to it than just, say, Table Mountain or glorious, endless salt flats. There's more to it than countries that are home to some of the deepest mines in the world. There is so much more to this place, even if it is home to some of the finest diamonds on the planet. It is the sheer diversity of the people who call Southern Africa home, and the relentless drive to make it a better place that make it so special. And we know that because this too is home. No one knows Southern Africa like we do. CGTN, see the difference.
You don't find the stories of North Africa by sitting on the sidelines. You've got to get out, go there, and you'll find them. In the bazaars of Casablanca, among the crowds in Cairo,
who come to visit Cairo, the ancient capital of Egypt.
Along the waters of the Nile, along the sands of the Sahara. No one else will take you where we can in North Africa. No one else will show you what it's all about. CGTN, see the difference.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
In your business news, several major airlines say they've rerouted flights to avoid the airspace over Iraq and Iran. Dubai-based Emirates Airlines has cancelled a return flight to Baghdad following Iran's missile attack on US-led forces in Iraq. In a statement, Emirates said the company is carefully monitoring developments and will maintain close contact with the relevant government authorities regarding its flight operations. The Federal Aviation Administration has banned US carriers from the area. Singapore Airlines, Malaysia Airlines, Australia's Qantas, Korean Airways and Thai Airways are also among the airlines avoiding the Iraqi airspace. Qatar Airways, however, says its flights to Iraq were operating normally. Well, earlier, Egypt's national carrier, Egypt Air, announced plans to suspend its flights to the Iraqi capital, Baghdad. The suspension is expected to run for about 3 days, starting this Wednesday. The state-owned carrier confirmed the interruption was taken for the safety of passengers and planes and will last until the security situation stabilizes. The Energy Minister of the United Arab Emirates, Suhail Al-Mazroui, says he does not see immediate shortages in oil supply. He says that supply has been maintained in past times of war. He was speaking to reporters in Abu Dhabi at the Gulf Intelligence's UAE Energy Forum. He, however, admitted that the new round of tensions has pushed up oil prices, with Brent crude trading around $70 a barrel.
My expectation is that we will not see a war, and hopefully not see a war. This is definitely an escalation among the United States, which is an ally, and Iran, which is a neighbor. Well, when we like or we don't like Iran, Iran is a neighbor. We are very close to Iran, and the last thing we want is another tension in the Middle East.
We are all hoping for de-escalation. I think wisdom will prevail despite the tension. Let's not exaggerate what is what is happening. There is no risk that we have seen to the Strait of Hormuz or the movement of oil yet.
Meanwhile, gold prices in Dubai have jumped amid developments in the Middle East. The price of standard gold jumped to about $48 per gram, hitting a new high since January 2018 on Friday. The price rose to about $48.73 per gram the very next day.
People are nervous. People, you open the news and you see there is more to happen of strikes from the US versus Iran, and people get panic. So what's the first thing to do is to convert some of their investment into gold. And that's why you see very heavy volatility on the market, and that is going to continue.
Thousands of protesters in the Liberian capital of Monrovia rallied against a deepening economic crisis in the impoverished country on Monday. This marked the second mass demonstration against President George Weah's handling of the economy in less than a year. Liberia's economy has declined dramatically during Weah's tenure, so much so that banks aren't able to pay depositors, salaries are delayed, and the price of basic commodities has skyrocketed. Riot police were deployed as a precaution to assure the safety of those demonstrating. According to reports, one person was injured during those demonstrations. Now, the world's biggest tech event is well underway in Las Vegas, USA. This year's Consumer Electronics Show is hosting more than 4,500 exhibitors. They've launched nearly 20,000 products covering artificial intelligence, 5G, smart cities, and more. CGTN's Edis Tiansen is there.
Tired of dragging your suitcase around airports? Smart suitcases can now follow you instead. And putting your baby to sleep may no longer be a hassle. Did you forget to put drinks in the fridge? No worries, this device will cool them in a minute. Or if you want to head to the beach on your cooler, that's now possible too. CES 2020 is unveiling hundreds of gadgets that are more capable and connected than ever before. This live outdoor reality rower will allow you to join a real-time rowing session taking place in another part of the world.
Live outdoor reality here, you never know what's going to happen.
In the comfort of your living room, you could be part of a live race with other users from around the world. Or if you want a more personal training experience in table tennis, Forpheus has artificial intelligence that detects your level and adjusts its own skills to your pace.
This is a very, very high-speed, high-precision robot that is constantly synchronized with the AI of vision technology and other sensors around it in order to increase human motivation and increase human skill.
It can also detect your emotions in real time, and its competence will shift to keep you motivated. The same technology can also be applied in manufacturing with robots that can boost efficiency on assembly lines. And virtual reality could now open up a whole new world with the possibility of creating another reality in a virtual space.
People are traveling all the time for work. The work travel industry is a $1.5 trillion industry and growing. One of the biggest industries. It's expensive, it's exhausting for people who have to travel, and it's terrible for the environment.
So Spatial brings people from different parts of the world into the same virtual meeting room. The integration of these technologies into our daily lives could still take years, but their display at CES is a harbinger of how they might revolutionize our lives in the near future. Edis Tianshan, CGTN, Las Vegas.
Well, still with the Consumer Electronics Show, U.S. Presidential Advisor Ivanka Trump on Tuesday touted government-industry collaboration to create jobs. It drew some applause in contrast with the criticism she faced beforehand for her lack of tech experience. The daughter of President Donald Trump was speaking at the annual tech conference in Las Vegas. Ivanka talked about efforts to boost paid family leave, finding people to fill 500,000 manufacturing jobs, and doing more to recruit and retain immigrants who she said were the greatest talent in the world.
I'm a big believer in innovation and the positive impact that productivity has on an economy and fighting for American dominance in the industries of the future. Immigration, I think would have bipartisan agreement that it needs to be overhauled and become relevant to both the jobs and the skills we need to attract to continue to grow and thrive. But it can't displace the investment that needs to be made in the core skills of marginalized Americans. So that's where we have to be careful. We need to do both.
I was not expecting booing or disrespect. I think this is a professional show. I just think it was quiet. And so there was a few moments of applause, and that was about the federal worker leave program that was signed into law in December, and the need to have partnerships between companies that employ a lot of tech workers and the government in terms of retraining. But other than that, as far as keynote speeches go at these kinds of tech conferences, I don't know that this is going to make the history books.
In technology, all the people have a voice to talk about technology. It's not for the geek, it's for all people. It's the technology. It's open to all of people. So I think if Ivanka Trump wants to talk about technology, she can talk about that.
The legal team of former Renault-Nissan chief Carlos Ghosn has fired back at Ghosn's former employer. The team is accusing Nissan of using a flawed and biased internal investigation to engineer Ghosn's arrest. That's according to a statement issued ahead of his expected appearance at a press briefing in Beirut. The statement says Nissan orchestrated the coup to prevent Ghosn from further integrating Nissan and its French alliance partner Renault. Ghosn managed to escape from Japan to Lebanon via Istanbul on New Year's Eve with some help. Turkish and Japanese authorities are investigating just how he was smuggled out of Japan and through a Turkish airport on his way to Beirut. In addition, Japanese authorities on Monday issued an arrest warrant for Ghosn's wife, Carol, for alleged perjury in connection with her husband's financial dealings. Well, time now for a short break. Still ahead on the program. The Qinghai Cultural Exhibition showcases Chinese culture in South Africa.
Data out of the country. The country's foreign currency reserves.
With a dedicated and diverse team of anchors, CGTN now brings Africa to the palm of your hand.
I'm Penina Karibe in the heart of Nairobi, which is bustling.
From everyday heroes to the continent's most powerful figures, we bring their voices to you.
We haven't changed.
And this is something most of us are very excited about.
We bring you news that's changing perspectives. News that brings Africa to the world. CGTN. See the difference.
The greatest journeys, the greatest sights, the greatest adventures.
Here in Qanater, this weir allows the locals to walk on water.
We're far more than just TV news. We're your passport to the wonders of Africa.
To bring you stories of struggle, survival and hope.
So let's explore. CGTN. See the difference.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Tuesday was Christmas Day in Ethiopia. Ethiopia marks the day on the 7th of January, unlike most parts of the world that celebrate Christmas on the 25th of December. Ethiopia is largely Orthodox Christian and follows the Coptic calendar. CGTN's Koleto Njoyi visited a small community in Addis Ababa that has slaughtered an ox together every Christmas for over 3 decades.
Christmas begins here for Hirpo Gurmesa and 7 of his friends. They are sharing an ox they've bought together. An ox costs between $1,000 and $2,000.
If one person buys an ox, the price is too much for him. He cannot afford. And then if we were many in number, we just contribute money together and then we buy. For 1 month, it's very difficult.
Since 1984, they have bought and shared 72 oxen, slaughtering them twice a year. But it is more than just a meal.
It is unity. It gives us, it learns us unity.
Hirpo says they encourage their children to keep the practice going.
There is some gap between the current generation and our fathers, so this should be corrected. And, the current generation should learn from what our fathers are doing to transfer such wonderful practice to the coming generation.
It's all about social life. It's all about socializing and having a get together, having fun, spending time together with the relatives. This is all about spending holiday. This Christmas time is time of joy.
The group shares out the meat through a raffle. This kind of sharing is a Christmas tradition around the country. Christmas comes immediately after a fasting period, so most people spend their day indoors, feasting with family and friends. And as the friends take the meat home to begin their celebrations, they are already preparing for another slaughter in less than 4 months, their 73rd ox at Easter. Koleto Njoyi, CGTN, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
And to South Africa now, where in line with the outcomes of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, the government of Qinghai province in China is holding an ethnic cultural exhibition in Johannesburg. The exhibition seeks to build a community of cultural prosperity between China and South Africa. CGTN's Yolisa Jamela brings us the details.
The exhibition showcases the picturesque scenery of the vast Qinghai province, further showing folk customs and the remarkable achievements the province has attained in socio-economic development.
Qinghai is a so beautiful place and so many things, worth to see. So I think this is a very good opportunity for the delegation to bring this opportunity to us. Let us know Qinghai and understand Qinghai better.
The display also showcases ecological conservation, cultural heritage protection, and ethnic unity. The exhibition also serves as part of an ongoing effort to enhance people-to-people relations and cooperations between the communities of the two countries.
Especially the similarities we can compare with the institute and the places like mining and everything. So we want more and more of the South African people to come to Qinghai and to make more of these experiences in the future and working together, especially to highlight the Qinghai natural, cultural and minority heritage to South Africa. And it's very terrific for us to particularly be here.
Qinghai is a landlocked province in northwestern China. Named after Qinghai Lake, the largest lake in China, Qinghai is one of the least populated provinces in China. In fact, the province has the second smallest population out of all the Chinese provinces, and it prides itself in having a highly diverse population. Yolisa Jamela for CGTN in Johannesburg, South Africa.
As a traditional celebration for the new year, the Cape Town Street Parade has taken center stage in the City Bowl of Cape Town in South Africa, providing local and international visitors with a fascinating audio-visual feast. Let's take a look.
This is the biggest cultural event on the African continent, the Cape Town Street Parade.
Atmosphere is fantastic. There's people dancing, they're all in a good mood. Everybody's happy with it, which is good for Cape Town.
Next. Senegal winger Sadio Mane crowned 2019 CAF Player of the Year.
Accra is my kind of city. That's because when I'm here, I feel like I'm back home in Lagos or Aviation, which are two of the major cities I grew up in.
Business in Africa is high risk.
After about a decade covering business news on the continent, I've learned it's all about the high risk, but also the high returns and the high energy. You simply have to adjust in order to keep pace. When I started out as a journalist, my dream was to open people's minds to the different perspectives. From the CEO in the boardroom to the trader out in the street, we all have different stories. From Accra to Addis Ababa, from Cairo to Cape Town, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Here at CGTN, we realize that Africa is on the move, and it's moving fast, but we're moving right along with it. I'm Uche Okoronkwo, and I'm a business anchor and reporter at CGTN.
How would you create your legend? On the fields, on the tracks, in the arenas of Africa. Were you born to be a player? Could this moment be yours? Sports Scene. Find your game.
In your sports news, Senegal forward Sadio Mane has been named the 2019 CAF Player of the Year for the first time at the awards gala in Egypt. The Liverpool star has earned the coveted prize after winning the UEFA Champions League with his English Premier League side and leading his nation to the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations final. Mane received 477 votes to beat Liverpool teammate Mohamed Salah, who received 325 votes, and Algeria's Riyad Mahrez, who came third with 267. 27-year-old Mane, in fact, finished second to Egypt's Salah in both 2017 and 2018. Now, according to CAF statistics, Mane scored 34 goals and claimed 12 assists in 61 appearances in 2019. He's only the second Senegalese to win the award after El Hadj Diouf, who won in 2001 and 2002.
I'm just really happy, to be honest. I'm really happy and really proud to win this award. And like I just said now, I'm coming really far. And yeah, for sure, I would like to thank my teammate, national team, and as well Liverpool Football Club, all my teammates.
Now, just ahead of the awards, the University of Cairo hosted a select group of FIFA legends for an interactive Q&A session. Hundreds of students filled the university's auditorium to see globally renowned football legends Yuri Djorkaeff, the current CEO of the FIFA Foundation, Egyptian icon Ahmed Mido Hossam, Clementine Touré, the head coach of the Côte d'Ivoire women's national team, and French women's football legend Laura Georges. They all shared their experiences and interacted with the student audience. The quartet spoke about their careers before and after retirement, emphasizing the importance of discipline and dedication as the key pillars in climbing the ladder of success. And to the Dakar Rally now, where having won the second stage in the car category, 2009 champion South Africa's Janelle de Villiers is pushing for victory. The grueling event is being held in the desert of Saudi Arabia for the first time, and as CGTN's CS du Plessis reports, de Villiers is relishing the new course.
The 42nd edition of Dakar has been met with plenty excitement by South Africa's off-road legend Janelle de Villiers. The 47-year-old, who began his Dakar journey in 2003 when the challenging race was still held in Africa, said before the race he was eager to take on the new challenge and test his skills in the desert of Saudi Arabia.
First time in Saudi Arabia, everybody's arrived here, so it's a lot of excitement going on for the first race here. It looks like it's going to be interesting. Certainly going to be a new adventure for everybody.
De Villiers knows that there's a healthy competition in the Toyota Gazoo racing team, and despite the battle for top honours, he is excited to see what his teammates can produce on the new route as they look to defend their title.
We've got a strong team. Nasser, Bernhard, myself, and then Fernando joining us this year. So it's a really good team, and hopefully we can do the job.
The road ahead is a challenging one for the veteran of 16 Dakar rallies, but de Villiers is aware of the potential ups and downs and how he needs to deal with the obstacles in his way, especially after finishing stage 1 and 14th and then powering to a stage victory the following day.
I know it happens like this in the Dakar. You can have a very bad day and then next day you can have a very good day. It's just to, the way you limit your bad days and limit the time loss, but for sure, really nice day.
The dusty, dry and daunting desert event continues until the 17th of January, and de Villiers will be doing his level best to improve on his 9th place finish from last year. But if history is anything to go by, the determined driver would have his sights set on another podium finish to go with the other 8 he has claimed since his Dakar debut 17 years ago. CS du Plessis, CGTN, Johannesburg.
Staying with the Dakar Rally, two-time champion Carlos Sainz took over top spot in the car standings after winning the third stage around the desert city of Neom. The Spaniard, driving a mini buggy, is now ahead of Toyota's defending champion Nasser Al Attiyah of Qatar by 4 minutes and 55 seconds after the 427-kilometer loop that stretched close to the Jordanian border. Overnight leader Orlando Terranova dropped to third, 8 minutes off the pace. The Argentine completed the stage nearly 13 minutes slower than Sainz. 3 drivers have now won the opening stages of the first Dakar to be held in the Middle East after more than a decade in South America. It is the 33rd stage win for Sainz. Fernando Alonso came home 5th in the stage, but is 2 hours and 40 minutes behind Sainz. In the motorcycle category, American Ricky Brabeck won the stage on his Honda and took the overall lead from Britain's Sam Sunderland. Monday stage winner Ross Branch injured his shoulder in a crash at the 88-kilometer mark that cost the Botswana-born rider more than an hour. Yamaha's Adrian van Beveren fractured his collarbone in another crash and was taken to hospital by helicopter. Australia's defending champion Toby Price lost his way and finished the stage 5th. And we turn to football now. In England, Manchester City have taken a huge step towards returning to the League Cup final by outclassing neighbours Manchester United 3-1 in the first leg of their semi-final. City came out on top thanks to a dominant first-half performance, but United improved in the second half and scored a goal that gives them some hope for the return fixture. City restored their recent dominance of the Manchester derby with a third consecutive win at Old Trafford. Bernardo Silva opened the scoring by smashing a shot into the top corner on 17 minutes. The Portuguese then turned creator and fed Algerian Riyad Mahrez, who rounded David De Gea to slot into an empty net. 5 minutes later, it was 3-0 as Kevin De Bruyne left Phil Jones flat on the ground before his powerful shot was parried by De Gea and off Andreas Pereira for an own goal. After the break, Mason Greenwood teed up Marcus Rashford, who found the far corner, giving United some hope despite the 3-1 loss.
I have the warnings after what happened in the second half, so everything can happen in one football game, and they have the quality to score goals to make a good action. So they scored 2 goals in the Premier League game, so they are able to do it. So I have to prepare well, but it's in 3 weeks. We have more games before, and so have time to focus in the Premier League right now.
You come into half-time with that result. That's the word there, pride. What Pep was talking about is one word that you speak about at half-time. Make sure you win the second half and you're in the tie. And of course, it's a difficult task that we've got in front of us. But that second half at least gave us something to hang on to.
Meanwhile, Real Madrid and Valencia stepped up preparations ahead of their Spanish Super Cup semi-final clash in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia on Wednesday. Real coach Zinedine Zidane said other players will all have to step up in light of the latest absentees, Eden Hazard and Gareth Bale, who joined first-team regulars such as Karim Benzema, Mariano Diaz, James Rodriguez, Lucas Vazquez and Brahim Diaz, who all missed the trip. Zidane also said the club was happy to be playing in such an important competition in Saudi Arabia. Valencia manager Albert Calades, meanwhile, said his team were focused solely on the clash with Real Madrid and did not have an eye on the final since they have to defeat one of the best to advance. Champions and 13-time winners Barcelona face Atletico Madrid also at the King Abdullah Sports City Stadium on Thursday.
I am very pleased to be here because we are going to play in an important competition, and that is what motivates me. I think it's the same for the players. As for personal plans, that is something else. I am here in a professional capacity and we have been received very well. We are very appreciative of Saudi Arabia.
We are not thinking about Sunday's game. We are thinking about today's game and the difficulties that we could have. If we want to get to the final, then ahead of us is a great team, one of the best. We are focused on that game and not thinking about anything else.
Over to tennis news now, where Australia took victory through John Millman and Nick Kyrgios, beating Greece in Group F and securing their quarterfinal spot. Millman lost the first set 6-4 to Mikhail Pervolakis, but won the second set 6-1 and clinched the decider in a tiebreak to give the Aussies a 1-0 lead in the best-of-3 time. Kyrgios was up next in an anticipated match as he faced ATP World number 6 Stefanos Tsitsipas. The Australian won the first set in a tiebreak, but Tsitsipas took the second, also a tiebreak. Kyrgios recovered and maintained his perfect record against the Greek by taking the third, which helped him clinch the victory for the Aussies. And that's it for this edition of Africa Live. Remember, you can send your feedback to the contacts on the screen and follow us on social media. I'm Lindy Mtongana. From me and the team here in Nairobi, thanks for watching and take care.
energy and, of course, it needs electricity for its manufacturing sector. Will it agree to a longer filling schedule? We'll have the latest from Cairo and Addis Ababa. We'll also be taking a second look at the rand. If this is the year South Africa finally loses its last investment grade rating from Moody's, how low will the rand go? It's gained almost 3% against the dollar in the last 4 weeks, but will the rest of 2020 be as kind? All that and more is in the pipeline for you at 1800 GMT. All right, we're good. Sound goes out, I hope, I think. Very good.